All right. Good morning, beautiful people of Theater 200. I'm going to be looking over here because I'm recording this lecture. Today, we are going to review for our second quiz, which we had on Monday. It will cover chapter 4. It will be about 15 questions this time, one of which will be like on the last test, give you an opinion, give you an opportunity to express an opinion about something. Uh, Based on what we've talked about. Um, yeah, so we'll start at the top. First word, Dionysus. Who remembers who Dionysus is? Anybody?
Your goodness. Theater.
Theater. Yes, the god of theater. Let's call him that. They also give him credit for being the god of wine, and for fertility and trance-like behavior, basically being under the influence. Every year, the Greeks held a festival for Dionysus at which plays were performed. It was held in the spring of the year, nice warm weather. It was called the City Dionysia. City Dionysia. Um, the location for the City Dionysia was this theater called Epidaurus. It is considered the most perfect theater ever constructed. For one reason, it's architecturally um, beautiful. Structurally, the way the seating area is oriented toward the stage is something that theaters from that point forward wanted to emulate. They wanted to copy the structure. One thing that's important about the structure, and I'll point this term out, is the scena. It is the scene house. If you remember, there is always some structure, and the action of the play is performed in front of it. That structure doesn't change. It's always the same. It's a facade, fake. You don't use it. You can go in and out of it, but it was there to represent whatever location needed to be shown in the play. This influenced future theaters. We will see when we continue looking at theater during Shakespeare's time, theater looks very similar. So it's important for that reason. The theater, Epidaurus. Now, like I said, every year there was a playwriting competition, a festival in honor of Dionysus called the City Dionysia, performed at Epidaurus. Every year at the City Dionysia, three playwrights competed. They wrote three plays apiece, three tragedies. Over a century, that's approximately 900 tragedies, nine a year. Of those 900 tragedies, 32 of them survived. We have those 32 plays, and they are all written by three playwrights: Sophocles, Aeschylus, and Euripides. Sophocles is important to us because we discussed his play, Oedipus the King. Right? So it's important we remember Sophocles for that reason. Now, in addition to the tragedy festival, we had a comedy festival called the Lenaia. Lenaia, Lenaia. Every year, this festival was held in the winter. Five playwrights competed every year, and each one of them wrote one play. And of those plays that were written during this time, 11 of them are still with us, and they are all written by this playwright, Aristophanes, or some of my students like to call him Aristophanes. Aristophanes wrote the surviving Greek comedy. This takes us to the end of our Greek theater discussion. All of the questions that we're going to have on the quiz are going to be related to this bit of information there. From there, we move to ancient Rome. Uh, Around 276 BC, Rome began their campaign through Greece. And as they are moving through the country, of course, they experience theater and parts of Greek culture. And they said, oh, this is interesting, but it's not good enough for us. Certainly not the plays. They liked the plays, they accepted them as really good classical theater, but they failed to uh, um, meet up to the Romans' expectations. The Romans had a very high opinion of themselves, and they felt that these Greek plays were a bit barbaric. So they hired a writer by the name of Livius Andronicus. And they said, Livius, rewrite these plays so that they will appeal to us. And he did. He was popular for a time. He wrote his own plays. They were kind of bordering on comedy rather than tragedy. It's important to know the Romans like comedy, tragedy, not so much. Generally speaking, the Romans did not really appreciate theater as much as the Greeks did. It just wasn't what they were into. Romans like competitions. They liked games. Man against man, man against animal, gymnastics, juggling, chariot races, gladiator contests, feats of strength, competitions. If we think about the Romans and what they like, it was all about popular culture. You know what I mean when I say popular culture? That part of our culture that the majority of us will like or enjoy. Popular movies, popular music, popular TV series, any popular things online, on the internet. This is a part of our popular culture. For the Romans, their popular culture, that which they found entertaining, all had to do with competition, games, like strength, demonstrations of strength, and comedy, anything that would make them laugh. For that reason, comedy was popular. Now, from Rome here, we move into the Middle Ages. And we said that the Middle Ages can be divided into three phases: early, high, and late. Early is from 900 to 1050. High is from 1050 to 1300. Late is from 1300 to 1500. During the first two phases of the Middle Ages, theater. Now this is the Christian era we're talking about. Theater was performed in churches and monasteries. Remember, the focus at this point, the function of theater was to educate people about Christianity. All you had to do was stand there and watch, because you could learn it, right? So clergymen thought that it would be a good idea to incorporate drama into church services. This church drama is called liturgical drama because it became a part of the church's liturgy as a part of the church service, the worship service. It was incorporated into that. Liturgical drama. Liturgical drama performed by priests primarily, Choir boys, anybody involved in the church service? It was in Latin, was chanted, sung, usually about 3 lines of text repeated. The earliest recorded liturgical drama is called Ken Charites. Ken Charites. I would not ask you to spell this, but it's important to know that this short play, liturgical drama, is performed around Easter. And it told the story of the 3 Marys coming to the tomb of Christ, seeing that the stone was rolled away, Christ was no longer there. They are met by the angel who asks them, Christians, whom do you seek? And they say, we seek Jesus. The angel explains to them that Jesus has resurrected, he is no longer there. Whom do you seek? Whom do you seek? By the late phase of the Middle Ages, theater moved outside of the church. So it was no longer performed as a part of church services. It was instead performed by common people in the language that they spoke. When we talk about the spoken language of a people, we call that vernacular. Vernacular, in the language of the people. And these Christian plays were referred to as vernacular religion drama. Once again, not performed by clergy people. They were performed by lay people, common people, people who had an interest still in providing some sort of education for the masses. Because remember, Middle Ages referred to as the Dark Ages. Anybody know why they were referred to as the Dark Ages?
Because of the tragedies?
Well, that's one reason, but the real reason, think about darkness in terms of knowledge and the lack thereof. If you're in the dark, you're uneducated. The majority of people weren't able to read. The people with all of the knowledge were in the church. So that's why they wanted to take on theater as a form of educating people about Christianity. But the unfortunate thing was, because these plays that the church leaders were performing were in Latin, not everybody spoke Latin or understood it or read it. So by theater coming outside of the church and being performed in the language that people spoke, the impact was greater. Oh, I get it. I can understand it. I can relate to it. Couple of things, significant events that happened when theater moved outside of the church. The first is the Feast of Corpus Christi, the body of Christ. This is a feast that is celebrated in the spring of the year, and it brings together clergymen as well as lay people, members of the community. And it is a celebration of the redemptive power of the holy sacraments, the redemptive power of the body and blood of Christ. And it is marked by a parade through the center of town, carrying with members of clergy people, priests, as well as common people, marching through the center of town with the blood and the wine and bread, the consecrated body and blood of Christ. This whole processional atmosphere set off the trend of cycle plays being performed. You remember we talked about these plays that were performed by common people, just regular community, religious-minded people who wanted to continue telling the stories of the Bible, but in the language that people spoke so people could understand it. they took on the challenge of taking stories from the Bible, adapting them, translating the written story of the Bible into a play and performing. And they would take plays. You couldn't perform all the stories of the Bible in 1 year. So you would choose them. And they would tell them in cycles. These cycles ran from the beginning of the Bible to Revelation. So from Genesis to Revelation, they were taking these stories from the Bible and adapting them. These cycle plays were performed by members of trade. These are the common people that performed as I was talking. Corpus Christi marked the kickoff of this cycle play period. The first celebration of Corpus Christi, the Feast of Corpus Christi, is celebrated every year to this day. But when it was first introduced, it marked the beginning of common people performing these religious plays. Cycle plays and these religious plays, outdoor dramas, were very popular for a time. Unfortunately, differing opinions about Christianity, not everyone who attended these outdoor performances was Christian. So conflict broke out, fights, physical violence, death. Nobody wanted theater that would be harmful to them. Nobody wanted to go to the theater and lose their life. So the popularity of cycle plays started to diminish. What replaced it were plays that more or less dealt with everyday man and their struggles on earth, being aware of God and God's teaching and teachings in the Bible, but not having that be the real subject of the play. Like, this is not a translated Bible story. This is a story about common people. These are called morality plays. Morality plays. And the most popular morality play is a play called Every Man. The thing about a morality play is that the main character in the morality play is someone that we can relate to, identify with. We see ourselves represented in this character. That makes the impact of the story greater because we can put ourselves into the story. With every man is, by the way, the playwright, the writer of Every Man is anonymous. We have no idea who contributed this play. But at the center of the story, of course, is the character Every Man, all of us. Every man does not really pay much attention to how he lives his life. Not at all focusing on the teachings of God. He's just going through his life, spending his time with his friends. Eventually, death comes for every man. And every man does not want to go to his end alone. So he asks his friends to accompany him. They decline. And every man is faced with this end of being alone, and there is nobody there to speak for him when he comes before God. Until at the very end, good deeds, and all of his friends have quality names like Five Wits, good deeds, things like that. They are representing human qualities, allegorical figures. But good deeds is there to speak for every man, and good deeds is able to share the positive things that every man did throughout his life, the kindnesses that he showed to other people. For that reason, he is able to get into heaven. Another type of play that came at the end of the Middle Ages is something called farce. Farce is a completely secular, totally non-religious comedy. It is full-on comedy, and it deals with everyday people in comedic situations under unusual circumstances. But that brings us to the end of chapter 4 and the terms and the information that I thought most important for you. As I said, I'm recording this and I will share this on Blackboard with you. So if you want to see this and review it at any time, the quiz, as I said, will be on Monday. 15 questions, maybe a few more. Majority of them will be multiple choice. Maybe like on the last quiz, a couple of questions that you will answer, give a short answer. And the final question, that'll be more of a essay-ish type question. That will ask a kind of open-ended question about this section, and give you an opportunity to respond to it. Something along the lines of the impact of the pagan uh, existence on theater versus Christianity, how Christianity influenced theater. What is your feeling about Christianity or theater being used as a means of educating people about Christianity? You know, is it a powerful tool in spreading the word of God? Could it possibly be that? Or what we talked about, these plays, these pagan plays, uh, hmm, hmm, hmm. One thing we learned about, and I don't want to bring this up because this won't be on the quiz, but one thing we talked about with tragedy is that Greek tragic plays include two things: suffering and death. Those are two things. Uh, and the impact of a Greek tragedy when it talks about suffering and death. Also, another thing, this is just me thinking now, don't hold this against me, but one of the interesting things that uh, explains Greek tragedy is how a story is told. If you remember with Oedipus Rex, everything that happens in the play has to happen between the time that the sun comes up and the time that the sun sets. So all of the action of every Greek tragedy has to only last during those 12 hours. Everything has to rise to the climax and subside. Everything has to happen in an hour or in that 12-hour period. But anyway, when I do come up with an essay question, it won't be vague, very specific, and it'll be something that you can certainly respond. Any questions? Because I know this is a lot of stuff written on the board. Anything that I need to go over?
Yes. What's what's skin?
The scheme, Skena, actually.
Skin.
Anybody remember what this is?
Yeah.
The scene house. It's a
Okay.
part of the set.
Isn't it where they change?
Well, yeah, it was that structure. People could go behind it. Don't confuse this one with, because we moved forward and started talking about Globe Theater, and that structure in the Globe was where they would leave and go and change costumes and come back. But this could have also been used, was very similar, but the Skena is Greek tragedy. That's what. Clear? Is that clear on you? How you doing? Any questions? Any questions? Are you sure? Okay. All right. Just to be a little less confusing about this lecture will go on Blackboard. I will also provide a study guide that takes these terms and shapes them into questions, so it'll be a little clearer as to how they will be showing. Yeah? No worries, easy peasy. No questions? Good. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your morning.